So, as you can see, there's a new hat. People have been asking me about where they can get the hat that I had before, this one, and also how can they support the channel and the work that I'm doing. So, I decided to create a little shop for you guys to buy either this hat or stickers like this one. Any money that comes my way from this, it's gonna go back into the YouTube channel in order for me to make it better. All support is appreciated, but don't feel like it's something that you need to do. So, without further ado, this is episode 25, and in this episode, we are gonna be covering posing. Posing for animation, how important poses are, and most importantly, I have seen this trend of people kind of dismissing posing as something secondary, when in reality, it's actually the most important thing in animation. So let's get into it in this episode number 25. So for me, posing was something that all animators that I looked up to constantly talked about. Posing is the most important thing in your animations. I feel like at that point in time, even though I was trying my best to actually get it, I didn't really get it. I just want to drill down, hopefully, into your head as a young animator to make you realize that this is absolutely the most important thing that you can do in animation. In The Illusion of Life, this book, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston talk about posing in a way that makes so much sense. The quickest way to see how a scene is going to play is to shoot what we call a pose test. While the animator is setting up the scene, figuring the size, the movement, and the acting. He is making rough drawings that will become the basis of the actual animation. When a series of pose tests are cut together in a reel, there is quite a good feeling of how that part of the sequence will play. Now then they actually go on into explaining how a pose test is important in order to make or break a scene. Pose tests have a distinct value, as we discovered when working on Bambi. The sequence of the young deer on the ice with his friend Thumper was about to be cut from the story. The animator who had hoped to work on this section was appalled. For 3 days and nights he worked posing scenes, roughing out new sketches, making out exposure sheets, shooting held drawings and story sketches, until he had a running reel on the main part of the sequence. It was crude, but it was a solid idea. Without the pose test showing the possibilities in timing and reaction, the sequence would have been cut from the picture. I hope this gives you somewhat of an idea of how important posing is in animation. So now that we actually covered that in the book, let's look at old school animation versus games on how they actually all correlate to each other. And hopefully it will drive through the idea that posing is everything, doesn't matter which medium you use. Tarzan, one of my favorites, and I think Glenn Keane and his team did an amazing job grabbing the essence of what Tarzan is and running with it. I think his posing is phenomenal. Tarzan, he doesn't really speak much, so he actually speaks with his body in a way, and I think it's something that is really wise to study as an animator. So let's go dive deep into the clip. So Tarzan here, he's actually going from his family to then start hanging out with these humans that he finds so interesting. So I'm just going to draw on top very loosely, just so you can see the posing of the body and how like the shapes of the face, the skull, points to where he's going, and his whole body is indicating a sense of momentum forward. And I'm just going to quickly delineate. As you can see here, they hide the face within the arm, so you have a clear silhouette here. So that is the overall shape. Here I really dig the fact that this passing position is just that, just to kind of indicate that he goes from one branch here to another one. So as you can see here, he has actually kind of overstretching his limbs, and it looks really strong. And notice how dynamic the whole thing looks. It's just incredibly dynamic. just so you can see that he still has that animal vibe to it. Once again, chin, face hidden in between just to get a better silhouette. And then he goes from stretch to all like contained within this section. So he's actually opening and closing, and that is something that happens a lot in animation. Notice the foot once again, telegraphing that something is happening here. So good. Breaking joints. Look at this pose pointing to like, it's like an arrow. It's incredible. It's amazing. Love the arm, the arc of the arm here. But I digress, we're looking at poses. This work is fantastic. It's just amazing, amazing stuff. The more you go through it, the more you see how they actually got to certain solutions. And you see things like this. The foot always kind of facing towards you, to see how clever they were with their solutions to certain problems. I love how he actually kind of tackles different branches in different ways. He's just playing with the branches, he's just playing with this, this is nothing to him. Around this point that he actually goes from being animalistic to then starting to be human. But you can see from his back that he's still in animal mode. See here the back is actually kind of all curved and stuff. Let me really get into it, because he still goes from this to then being completely straight. Going back. And the chin is now pointing upwards, and he is human, extra human, until eventually he stops. And I think this is an amazing showcase of the many things that Tarzan did amazingly, and how good posing needs to be in order for you to sell this idea that he's an animal, but then sometimes he's not, he's actually human as well. So that's video number 1. Let's look at an example of the same exact thing, but for games. Games are always constantly evolving, and good posing, I feel, is something that has been there from the beginning of gaming, but some games more than others. A game that I feel has done this super well was Nier Automata. Yeah, and they've been doing an amazing job, Platinum Games, and I think on this game, every single move that you make when you press the button looks and feels really good. So let's look at a section of the game. In games, the idle position, it's the most important thing that you can do, and normally it needs to be something super strong. So when the character is just idling without you touching the controller, feels good, looks good, and I think this pose is incredibly strong. Yeah, the character is like completely open. It's strong and it reads well, and then the settle is perhaps the thing that matters most after the action, because when you press the button you almost never see the action, you feel it, but it's the settle that you get to see in screen the most. So this settle here, it's really well done. It's open, obviously the cloth is getting in the way a little bit, but it's open, it's straight, and she has like a really nice sense of balance here. It looks solid. And then the way she settles, once again, because it's so important, it's actually really strong. So she has like a nice center of gravity, and she has a nice silhouette. This is beautiful right here. So you can see here she's actually kind of anticipating this move to then go into the next move where she throws the katana. This feels so good in game though. She throws the katana, turns around and grabs it again with the same hand. The arms, so one arm is up and the other arm is down, so that actually reads really well. I think the center of mass is slightly off because she's turning, and that's okay. She has a sense of anticipation towards the blade, so this hand is getting ready to do some stuff. She actually receives it as she's actually settling, which is amazing. So the blade is over here, it's going over here, and then she grabs it on the way back, and around here she's now in balance, ready to settle. And I love this saddle, looks super amazing and dynamic. The fact that she's actually hugging herself. One arm is this way with the katana and the other one is this way. We can see the fingers here. She settles for a bit. She goes into another power pose right here. Beautiful. She goes straight from basically the previous attack to a settle. This is perhaps my favorite pose out of them all. Once again, she actually receives the katana on the way back as she's going. What this does is actually create a sense of forward motion. By her receiving the katana on the way back, it means that she never actually just waits for the katana to be in her hand and then does the motion. She's actually continuously flowing in between attacks. Forward, here, and then up, turn, flip, and throwing the blade. It kind of reads really well. So as mentioned throughout this whole thing, as you can see both on the Tarzan piece and this piece, like telegraphing exactly what's going on and making sure that the character is there all throughout is very important. Posing is your friend and it's the most important thing, and it's the thing that you should be thinking about all the time. So make sure you spend time on your poses to make them sink so your animation is better. Okay, I think that's it for this episode. I hope you guys like this shorter format, straight to the point and explaining things. Do let me know. Comments below, please. And basically what I'd like to do over these next few videos that are slightly shorter, break down to you guys some of the essentials of animation, why they're important, and how you should be looking at them and seeing them. It's because animation is such a huge, complex discipline that constantly has you thinking about different things. So it's easy to get distracted and to perhaps lose sight of some of these principles. So hopefully these next few videos will highlight some of the stuff that you should be thinking about. But for now, that is a wrap. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. See you guys in a week's time. And until then, stay well, stay safe. Peace.